and welcome back to Rain or Shine Gardening. I'm Katie, and welcome to my October front garden tour. It has been a little while since I've done a front garden tour, and so much has changed. I do have to say, though, that my inspirational mug today says, "Dream big, work hard, take breaks." And I think that was probably the theme for these last couple months. We've taken a lot of breaks. We've had really busy seasons with the kids going back to school, with traveling for work, all kinds of things happening. So I have not spent nearly as much time out here in the garden as I did in previous months or that I feel like I should be doing, but it is what it is. And even though I have not kept up on maintenance on some of these things, they are still blooming, they're still growing, and there's still some beautiful areas in my garden. So I want to document what October looks like this year here in 2025 for my own record so I can look back and see. We do not have any super cold nights on the forecast, which is pretty inspiring and amazing at this point. We do have a lot of rain on the forecast, so everything seems to kind of blow and do really well when we get a lot of rain. Otherwise, I'm watering with city water, which is treated, and I feel like my flowers don't do quite as well when they are watered with our city water compared to that natural rainwater. So I am excited for my flowers, for my trees, for things in my yard, my grass, everything, to get some of that natural rain. With rain comes some challenges, right? But it also comes with some benefits like that as well. Let's walk through and take a look at some of these areas in my front garden in October and see what's going on before we get to the point of pulling things out here in the near future when we do end up getting a frost. So let's get started. I always love this view here from kind of the bottom of my driveway. You'll see that sweet potato vine has actually climbed and intertwined in. I have a boxwood under here, so I need to pull that out and kind of untangle it and unearth the boxwood that is underneath, and maybe give that a little trim back before we have a risk of some frost. And I have a lilac coming up right here. This is I think the second year I've had this in the garden, and it put on a lot of growth last year, so I'm looking forward to that growing up. But I really like this vantage point here from my garden. You can see I've got some dahlias over here that are coming up, and then this garden bed that's so lush and full. And then you can see my bench back here in the corner. That's my sunset bench that we sit on and look at the sunset out across the street. And then you can see in the back where I just was, up here on this flagstone pathway, that's a new garden bed that we expanded this spring. And there are a couple fruit trees there in that garden bed, and we'll look at that a little bit closer once we get up around that area. But I really like this view, this vista from here in the corner of the driveway. You can kind of see all the different garden beds and things that are blooming. You can tell it's fall because my hostas here in the front of this garden bed are starting to turn yellow. I know that season is coming. It's starting to cool down. So they are beginning to tell me that it's fall and to get ready to pull them out soon or to cut them down. This bed has a lot of wild things in it also. It's got more Gara in it, and then it has a lot of hardy geraniums and some peonies that we'll need to cut back this fall too. This is my limelight standard tree, and you can see it kind of toppled with some of the rain that we got because these blooms are so massive this year that it did not hold up really well with the weight of the wet blooms. So that was kind of interesting. It took on a weird shape after we got a rain in, I think it was August, maybe September. But yeah, this will be cut back also and will come back next year. This is my project area that I posted a video about recently. I'm starting my rose garden redo project this fall. So right behind my sunset bench here, I have some roses that are still in the ground, but we pulled out a lot of other plants. I'm going to be putting in a new pathway and kind of redesigning how my roses look and how they are laid out back in this area to make it more accessible and then more enjoyable for me to walk through and cut blooms too. So go watch those videos if you haven't had a chance to take a look at them yet, and then make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you are brought back to come along with me in the rest of that project. I can't wait to see how it turns out. Sometimes I'm not much of a planner. I just kind of jump in and work on things, and so it'll be interesting to see how it turns out in the end compared to what I have in my mind right now, because I'll probably make quite a few adjustments. These planters here in the front, you can see the dahlias I have in the planters that are just growing super tall. And I'll probably take the tubers out of these planters. I am thinking that I may plant my two new Shishigashira Japanese maples in these pots because I'll probably take out the perennials that are planted in there. The annuals, the sweet potato vines, are going to die back once we get a frost, and then I'm going to pull out the dahlias. And I need somewhere to put the Shishigashira Japanese maples. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to put them in these pots for now, at least until I find kind of a more semi-permanent place that I want them to be planted over the winter. But I think this might be a good place for them. So I have mentioned before, but this is a weeping cherry tree over in this side of our yard. This is down by the road in the other corner opposite of our driveway. And that tree is always inflicted with disease. I think it has spider mites really bad or some kind of problem, but it has never seemed to do well. It loses a lot of leaves. It never looks super great. It's got a big S shape in the trunk. I don't think it's very healthy. I think it's pretty old actually. So we will be removing that tree. I don't know if that will be happening this fall or maybe in the springtime, but we will be taking that tree out and then putting something else in that space. I did plant some new dahlias to me along this border here. So you can see I've got Apple Blossom, Sebastian, what's this one called? Alley Candy and Preference. And those have been great dahlias to include in my bouquets. And then I do have a lot of the sweet potato vine. I didn't plant that many in here. I think this is only 4 on this side of the yard. So it just goes to show how much that really takes over, and it's kind of aggressive. It is covering up some of the lavender that I've planted in these beds. So I do want to be careful that it's not killing those out. I want to make sure that the lavender is getting enough sun. So I think I will come in and probably remove the sweet potato vine not too much longer, just so that it doesn't negatively impact some of my other plants that I have in here. I do have a little buddleia in the back, and you can kind of see some of the purple blooms on it. The sweet potato vine is actually crawling up the fence over there, so it's kind of aggressive. I'll need to take after that. I've been really happy with this whole path area that I put in this year. I do need to come in and make sure that I'm removing any kind of weeds or grass. I'm noticing some in here. Just to make sure that those don't take over in the bed, because we did put down a lot of nice compost as we were planting all of these things. But I'm really happy with how this turned out. I have some alternating Italian cypress and lemon cypress along the fence line in the back there, so you can kind of see those. And from a distance, it kind of creates a nice backdrop that's not super formal, but it does bring a little bit of pattern to the garden, which is kind of what I want in my comfortable cottage garden. I want a lot of repeating plants. I also tucked in all of these dahlias, so you can see here too. I've got this really pretty white dahlia called I Do right here on this side. I've got a dahlia that I don't have labeled for a name that's pink, that's kind of coming up through this tree on this side, and a cafe au lait in the back there, and then another called Missy Sue over here on the left hand side. Between the verbena bonariensis and the zinnias and the lavender along the pathway and that bright sweet potato vine. This has been just a really pretty area of my garden that I love walking through. This is a new archway that I put in this year since we expanded these garden beds and created this grass pathway. So the Boston ivy that I have climbing up on both sides is starting to grow. It's also turning color right now, pretty fall color. And you can see to the right this dirt area. This is where I am working on redoing my rose garden. So right now this is a little bit of a area that's under construction. More to come on that project. We've got all kinds of things going on in this new garden bed. So this is one that we expanded this spring also. And the asters are absolutely beautiful right now. They are just really bright purple blooms, and it really catches your eye when you walk through this pathway. You can see the cafe au lait. I have another one here on this bed. And then I do have an artichoke that is leaning pretty much over into the pathway. So I need to get that staked up on the left-hand side there. But this bed's been really nice. It has all kinds of things in there, some annuals, some perennials, and I can't wait to see what this bed looks like in the springtime when the snowball's blooming. I do plan on putting some spring bulbs in here to kind of complement the area. So we will see what that turns out like when the spring comes around. Walking down this pathway to the right, you can see the view is so pretty, and my grape went crazy this year. So I have a green grape on the right-hand side of this arbor and a red grape on the left-hand side of the arbor. And the green grape, I do not know what happened. We did not do anything differently to it this year, but it went absolutely crazy. It grew all the way out into where we removed some of these annuals this year, almost all the way to this trellis right here. So we are going to cut it all the way back. I was thinking of putting up a pergola type support along the house, maybe kind of visually as like a continuation of this arbor. Some people put those kind of across the front of their garage, in the front of their house. But I was thinking of putting something along there, and then we would have more support for the grape. But it has done really well here. I like this view too. This is one of my favorites also, with the cafe au lait on the left-hand side and the grape that's just kind of going wild. It just looks like a really pretty little garden room area. Okay, walking around this way, you can see I have a little lime hydrangea, and it's turning that really pretty red pink color for fall. So that's looking really great. We've got some lavender in this middle bed. I do have the baby blue eucalyptus, which has been really nice for a lot of my cut flower bouquets this year. So I've really liked that. My sedum flopped quite a bit, and I was wondering, I think maybe that's because it got over fertilized. I've heard that that can have an impact on sedum. But yeah, this bed has turned out really well. It's almost time for me to pull out a lot of these annuals and then do a little trim back on the perennials. But here we've got a little bench over in that corner of it's kind of our front side yard area. And this is my apple tree from my grandma that's growing right here. It's getting pretty tall. It's starting to have its leaves turn color and fall. And then this pathway goes back into my backyard, as you can see through that way. But today we're going to stay in the front yard for this tour. We might do a backyard tour pretty soon. So this is the red grape on this side of the arbor, and we are training it up to kind of climb on the fence. So we're hoping to have grapes kind of trail down along the fence there. I think that would be really pretty, but also really easy to get to for picking. I do have my fountain in the side of the yard, which brings a lot of really pretty sound to my garden, and we can hear it from the backyard and the front yard, so it's really nice. We've got some things planted around the bottom of it. I just put in these 2 lemon cypress here, and I've got that blue cypress there in the middle, and a couple different Russian sage on both sides of it. So kind of building this bed out. I'm kind of thinking I will probably put in a little bit of a flagstone path around here. It really helps to be able to get to the grapes and get to the apple tree when it is ready to harvest, and when we need to treat it for any kind of disease or bug pressure. It just makes it easy to have a little pathway. So I'm thinking about putting one in there. All right, coming around this side of the pathway in the garden bed, these are more of our anniversary roses. So when we are working on our project in the front of our house, where you saw all of the dirt, where we had ripped out a bunch of annuals and other things, these are some of the roses that we're going to put in that area. As we have purchased roses for our anniversary rose garden, we just kind of plop them where we have open space. And so now that we have quite a few of them, we're ready to kind of reorganize and make more sense of it. So these will all be together in our rose garden moving forward. And here's another view of the garden. It's so pretty here with all kinds of things in this bed. We've got a mix of sweet potato vine and hydrangea, roses, got that dark Ipomea sweet potato vine, and we've got the light green sweet potato vine. It's just a lot of nice color interest, and everything's so full. So I really pack all the plants in there for sure, but I like the look of that. And walking around here, this is where that artichoke is that I mentioned, and it is getting ready to bloom. So I'm not going to harvest these to eat on. I really want to see that really pretty purple bloom when they get to that point. So I'm going to leave these on and see what they look like. I do need to stake this up though, because I do not want these next few days of rain to completely crush these. I want to be able to see what they look like when they bloom. So that is one thing that I want to get done today before too much longer, is to make sure that I can support these well. So here I am on the other side of the pathway. You can see my flagstone path and the sweet potato vine that's kind of taking over. We do have some dahlias that are growing up through this fruit salad tree. I did mention too that I think this fruit salad tree we are also taking out because it is a grafted tree. There are about 4 different kinds of stone fruit. There's apricot, peach, nectarine, plum, a lot of different things grafted onto this one tree. But one whole side has died out. It's leaning because of that and really heavy on one side. I don't think any of the peach branches are still alive. The plums did pretty well. The apricots are doing the best. But it's really not what I thought I wanted in this area. And I thought this would be a really good place to put a red bud in for some red interest color in this bed. So I do plan on taking that tree out, but I have plans of what I want to go in there instead. So I'm looking forward to that project. I know I did a little dahlia tour recently, but I just have to show you how pretty all of these cafe au lait flowers are. These are one of my favorite dahlias, and they're blooming like crazy right now. So I don't know what the rain will do to these blooms. It looks like some of them are a little bit past prime, but I just had to show you those because they're so pretty. Here's a little bit better of a close-up. You can see some grass coming through petunias right here, so I know I need to get in and do some maintenance on this bed. And then you can see the petunias. They're just kind of at the end of the season. The budworms have kind of done them a little bit of damage. There's some blooms still trying to come through, but what I really want to do is kind of clear out the annuals and give these perennials a chance to breathe a little bit before the frost does set in. And I think my chickens will be happy to have some treats from pulling out a lot of my annual flowers. But here you can also see the Italian cypress a little bit better, and then some of the lemon cypress here too, and that just repeats kind of as we go along. This is a smaller lemon cypress I just put in this year. And then we've got the Italian cypress behind this cafe au lait. So it's kind of pretty to see it repeating along the fence line. Thank you for coming along with me on my October garden tour to see what's going on here in my garden in the fall of 2025. So I am here in the Pacific Northwest, Garden Zone 8B, and just on the east side of Portland. And we are not getting that cold yet, but it's definitely feeling like fall in the mornings. We're getting some of those crisp mornings. It's only a matter of time before we see one of those frosts on the forecast. But until then, we're going to enjoy what's blooming and what's still looking great in the garden. I love the fall season. It is one of my favorites, and thank you for coming along with me while we did a little tour of my October front garden. And rain or shine, I will see you next time.